Let's continue talking about various kinds of sobriety tests, and specifically, let's hone in on breath tests. You mentioned something in passing earlier about the Intox, and I think the technical term on part of this machine is the Intox EC-IR2 or something. That's foreign to me. What does that mean?
That's the current breath testing machine that's certified here in North Carolina, and it is a chemical plate breath testing. In other words, you blow into this hose and it goes down into a chamber, and the alcohol in your breath settles onto chemical plates and you get a chemical reaction. But it doesn't measure the alcohol in your blood. No breath testing does. So breath testing is an inaccurate science at best. But what they're actually measuring is the ketones, which is the alcohol byproduct. After alcohol is broken down in your body, it comes up into your lungs, and there are small alveolar cells that allow the byproduct to be released into your lungs so that you're breathing off. That's the bad breath people get who've been drinking.
Right.
And you're breathing off ketones is technically what it is.
So let me understand, though, it doesn't matter whether the technology has changed or gotten better. You're saying that in general, breath tests can be inaccurate.
Breath tests can be very inaccurate for a lot of different reasons. It's not testing your blood alcohol level. It's testing the rate at which you're eliminating alcohol that's already been burnt out of the body.
What if I'm on some kind of prescription medicine or something like that when I blow in there? Can things like that affect the accuracy?
Absolutely. Because North Carolina has an adopted standard of 2100 to 1 of the alveolar air that you're blowing off ketones in relation to the actual alcohol in your blood. So it's a statutorily set ratio. Now your ratio may be different than that, and you're stuck with the statutory ratio. But the question would be, if you're taking some drugs, could it affect it? Yes, if you've got a bronchodilator going on, you're going to be releasing a whole lot more ketones than somebody that has restricted dilation in their lungs.
But if, let's say, a test is inaccurate, would the state still say to you, well, Clarke, your client, we're still going to go forward with this. We're going to recognize the results?
Yes, and that's where North Carolina has some pretty draconian laws. North Carolina, it's not based on a blood standard, which it is based on, but they will allow it to be proven by a breath standard with a set ratio. Even if you don't fall in that ratio, you're stuck with the average. So North Carolina's got some bad law on point, and you got to be ready to fight the breath test any way you can.
Okay, but I'm still confused. I thought that if you blow under 0.08, it's not an issue anyway. You're not guilty of anything.
Well, you're not guilty of the first half of the statute, but the statute is a two-pronged statute. Either you can be appreciably impaired or blow a 0.08 or greater. So what the state falls back on is appreciable impairment, or in other words, you didn't pass the field sobriety test, there was bad driving. So they try and show other signs of guilt. But absolutely a 0.07 does not mean you're going to win.
Well, as we've been talking about, there are all sorts of tests that are given. And in the next segment, we're going to talk about how you might suppress evidence related to a chemical test or even object to it. We'll do that next.